Wow, that was great to hear Ben's story and how you've helped him through Noah's Ark Centre. Andrew and Lisa, are there lots of people like Ben who've managed to support and get their lives back on track? I guess, Lisa, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, we do work closely with Noah's Ark Centre, Andrew and the team there. And we have done for many years now. And probably over the past sort of couple of years or so, while we've been running Hopeful Families, we've sent over 100 people to Andrew to get support with debt. And what we find is that if somebody is in debt, as Andrew's mentioned quite rightly, is that it does impact in many other areas of their life, not least mental health. And it really does have a huge effect on how they're feeling and their well-being, which can stop them from being able to focus on the things that we identify that they need help with, like the employment. So by being able to send them to Noah's Ark and get that support, it really does offer that relief, and that is the key word there. The relief that they feel when they come back to us, it really is like they're a different person, and we can really start to focus on the things that are in their action plan. So yeah, the answer is we've seen many people sadly in that situation, but we feel very fortunate that we've got a service like Noah's Ark in Calderdale that we can work with to help people through that as well.
Amazing. And Andrew, I'm sure your answer is very similar to Lisa's, but are there many people like Ben who've managed to kind of work towards changing their life?
Crikey, I mean, where do I start with that one? I mean, every one of the 750 debt relief orders we've done in the last 4 years is a life change for somebody. There are obviously some standout stories to me, and there are some clients that I know we made a huge difference to their lives, and that makes me really proud of myself and my team here, because I guess that's what my motivation when I originally came here was to help people. I don't think when I came here 10 years ago I realised just how much I could help people with just a little bit of knowledge that I might have that's more than they've got. But that ability to change lives and transform lives is a really powerful thing. And what we get here at Noah's Ark in bucket loads is incredible feedback from people. And people do tell you what you've done for them and how it's changed. And so part of our process anyway is to evaluate our work, and we always ask people for comments, good or bad, about what we do. Luckily we don't get any bad comments ever, really. Do get a lot of good comments, and there are, like I say, there's individual examples where I know we've changed someone's life so much that it does, like I say, makes me really proud of what I do. So.
And I think the change is sustainable as well. So if we can alleviate that debt and that barrier, and then it makes somebody feel better, and then we help them move into a job, and they sustain that job, their life changes, and it changes for a very long time in a positive way. So the knock-on effect that debt relief has on somebody is immeasurable, really, I would say.
Yeah, it's not just a quick fix for a year, it's kind of a life step change.
My favourite story, though, I'll highlight, I don't know whether you can see this poster on the wall behind me, is my favourite story is 2 years ago, a young single mum came to me for support with her debt problems, and she was an emotional wreck. She was off work with depression for 3 months. She wasn't answering her door, wasn't opening her curtains, wasn't answering the phone, but luckily for her, a friend of hers told her about Noah's Ark. She made contact and filled our form in, came to see us, and over the course of the next few months she brought more and more people to us, and family, friends and so on. And then we were lucky enough to secure funding off the National Lottery Community Fund, and I needed to employ someone additional member of staff. So Kelly, this is her story up here, Kelly now works for me. Kelly's now a fully qualified debt advisor, and rather than being sat in the chair over there where she was 2 years ago, she's now sat in this chair. And it's a really, for me, it's been the highlight of my 10 years at Noah's Ark, really, is Kelly's story, really. We keep calling it Kelly's story because it's so powerful. It's a story of hope and yeah, success and everything else. I love it. It's a really great story.
Yeah,
I
we
would
discussed Kelly, and we thought we wanted to get her on in this conversation, but she was feeling a bit shy. But her story's great.
Yeah. I was just going to say as well that in terms of, you know, working together and sort of the debt relief that we do, it's not just for a certain group of people that this happens. You know, I think we need to move away from the stigma of it being a certain group of people that fall into debt. As we've seen from Ben's story, it can happen to anybody, you know, and it can happen overnight, and it's happening behind closed doors. And I suppose the message we want to get out to people is that, you know, don't be embarrassed, you know, take that step. You know, it's a non-judgmental service. Probably we've all been in a situation where we felt that debt has impacted us before. So it's literally when you come through the door, the kettle's on, we'll have a cup of tea, we'll talk about it, and we'll help. And, you know, you don't need to worry about being embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. I couldn't have put that better myself, to be honest with you. And going back to this thing about Kelly's number one tip to people is this: is don't let your embarrassment stop you like it did me, because that's what stopped her, was embarrassment. And she so wishes she'd come earlier, but ultimately she did eventually come. So, but yeah, don't be embarrassed about debt. There's so many different reasons why people end up in debt.
Well, and this kind of brings me on to my next question, because I feel like, as you said, Lisa and Andrew, it can impact anyone, and I think it's probably impacting, and I'm assuming, and this is what I'm going to ask you now, maybe more people now than ever because of COVID and redundancies. Have you seen a change in people, more people coming, or do you think it has changed and impacted more people?
I think it's beginning to change. Throughout last year, there was various programs that, you know, bailiffs, for example, were suspended for a long time. There were payment holidays that people were allowed to take on credit cards and loans and things. And I think we've definitely, in the last month or two, seen an uptake in the number of people coming to us with COVID-related debt issues. So they got reduced employment or lost employment. And I think as the year unfolds, particularly when furlough ends, I'm hoping and praying that I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling that there will be an avalanche of people in need of debt advice. I hope I'm wrong, but at the moment, it's just beginning to brew, I think, under the surface. I don't feel at the moment we're getting everybody through the doors to do with COVID. That's not the case at the moment, but I fear that as the year progresses, it may well be the case.
Yeah, really interesting times. Do you believe that debt can impact mental health?
Well, as I said at the beginning, Noah's Ark is a mental health charity. So first and foremost, that's what we do here. I know for a fact that being in problem debt 100% has a negative impact upon your mental health. I've yet to meet anybody who is in complete control of their finances. So, for example, one of the common things you will see is that people don't open their post, and they'll come to us with a bag full of unopened letters. Well, they're not opening their post because of anxiety. Well, that's an issue, a mental health issue. So what we know for a fact is that problem debt 100% impacts on mental health. And what we also know here at Noah's Ark, part of the project we have with the National Lottery, is to actually look at the effect that good quality debt advice has on mental health. And what we know here for a fact is that getting out of debt and getting good debt advice, again, 100% has a positive impact upon someone's mental health. So before someone comes to us, we have a referral process, and that referral process includes optional questions about someone's mental health. So we clinically score with a series of 9 questions. We clinically score someone's mental health before they come, and then we do a follow-up 3 months later where we score them again and we look for change. Because obviously what I know from the qualitative things that people say to us. So again, in our referral form, we'll ask them for how they're feeling, and they may disclose that they're anxious, they're depressed, they're suicidal, they're all those negative emotions before they come here. And again, we ask for the same afterwards. So we always get lots of really positive things about how our advice has impacted positively on their life. But to measure it clinically, we need to score it with a series of questions. So up on my chart here, I don't know if you can see this spider graph. This spider graph in the sort of mauvey colour there, that represents all of the 9 questions that we asked, the score that those questions gave in the context of the negative impact of debt on someone's mental health. So if you imagine this is a tumour of debt, and the larger element to the spider graph is the responses to the questions before they came to see us, and then the little bit in the middle, the pinky bit, that's the responses afterwards. So what you can see actually is that the worry and the stress of debt has actually shrunk, and it's definitely below half. The scores are less than half what they were before, and I don't believe that you'll get that level of change in someone's mental health through the use of I don't know, medication or mindfulness or any of those other sort of methods for supporting mental health. I think that it demonstrates to me perfectly that debt has a big impact on mental health.
Yeah.
Debt advice has an equally bigger and perhaps greater impact on positive mental health.
Wow.
It's a really, really good graphic, I think. Really good graphic.
Yeah, and I think that's really important for getting to the root of the problem. You know, there's some, you know, there's services out there that can, you know, offer short-term solutions for people, which is great. You know, that helps. However, what we're really passionate about, and I think Andrew would probably mirror the same, is that we identify what is the root of the issue and we help people with that, so that, you know, as Andrew's charts just demonstrated there, it does shrink, the anxiety shrinks, the mental health problem shrinks, the debt shrinks, and they can start to be positive and start to focus on going forward. So getting to the root of the problem and helping people with that is really, really important.
I think also what's important actually is that we all work in partnership together and we work holistically, that it isn't just enough to deal with one issue, that there are wider issues. So for example, here at Noah's Ark, I give debt advice, but we also offer counselling and psychotherapy. So it may well be that one of Lisa's clients comes to us for both those things. They may have some other mental health issues that need addressing with one-to-one sessions with one of our psychotherapists. And we look at that as a package of holistic support and care that moves people along in life. Because a lot of people are complex. A lot of people have had complex lives, often difficult lives, and they need a little bit more, a bit of outside the box thinking, which is what is great about my partnership with Lisa, is that we both have a similar ethos in the way that we feel about supporting people, and that people aren't just numbers. They're individuals, aren't they? And they've got a story, and sometimes those stories aren't very nice. And I think that, again, is one of the lovely things we get to do actually, is to help people move along in their life, because I've had a really good life and so have my children, but I've met a lot of people in my journey the last 10 years who haven't had the life I've led. So.
Well, and I guess that naturally and very lovely leads me to my next question. What do you like most about your job?
Go on, Lise.
Well, gosh, I've been doing this job for a very long time now, but I don't want to sound sappy when I say that actually I still get a bit of a buzz about helping somebody and seeing, you know, being able to change somebody's life for the positive. Well, you just don't get tired of that. So having the ability to help somebody quite easily, you know, I suppose as well, you know, it's quite an easy process, is a privilege. It's a privilege.
I would reiterate everything that you just said there, Lisa. I sometimes wonder whether or not what we should be doing is not paying people to work here. We should be getting them to pay us to work here, because sometimes, and I get a bit flippant and complacent about some of the comments we get from people, because some of it's just gold. I mean, it really is so valuable and powerful that I don't know, like I say, I get a little bit complacent because I've had so many wonderful things said over the years that you kind of take it as like, oh, it's just another one, isn't it? Whereas actually,
one of our participants said recently, who's actually gone through, it's a Hopeful Families participant that's gone through Andrew's service. How did she put it? She said, I'm not just surviving anymore, I'm actually thriving now.
Yeah.
And I thought that's just
amazing.
such a wonderful thing to hear. And you're absolutely right. I think that we're probably blowing our own trumpet a bit now, but you do hear it quite a lot, you know, which is good. It's a good feeling, but you can become quite complacent about that.
Yeah.
And it's only really when we have conversations like this that we sit down and go, actually, yeah, it is.
That's really amazing
good.
work.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, yep, that's my job done. But then actually you sit back and you think, no, that's really great. So Lisa, how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about the Halifax Opportunities Trust?
So they can email me. My email address is lisa.connolly, which is CONNELLY @regen.org.uk, or just give us a ring on 01422 347 392.
Fantastic. And Andrew, how can people get in touch with Noah's Ark Centre?
You can email us on debt, which is DEBT, debt@noahsarkcentre.org.uk, or give us a call on 01422 364 664.
Fantastic. And thank you so much, Lisa and Andrew, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to Plus, Hopeful Families, Halifax Opportunities Trust, Noah's Ark Centre, and obviously Hopeful Families is funded by National Lottery Community Fund and the European Social Fund. And if you did have any questions, we've got contact details on the bottom of the screen, and I hope that you've enjoyed watching this episode.